Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
Buenos dias, Senor Conrad, back from AAA.
Yeah.
He's a legend down there now, the Rich Gringo.
Oh, my gosh. Look at you. We're talking today. We've just recently covered SummerSlam 02, where Shawn Michaels returns to defeat Triple H. Brock Lesnar becomes the youngest WWE champion by defeating The Rock. It really is the beginning of the Brock Lesnar era. Rock's out of town after SummerSlam. He's going to work on some movies and things. But we do get to feature the hardcore title being unified with the Intercontinental title when Rob Van Dam defeats Tommy Dreamer. I guess with Rob Van Dam here, and he can do the hardcore style and the more traditional style, and it's still fun and exciting, he's as good as anybody to help retire that hardcore title, huh?
Oh, yeah. Van Dam's value to WWE, at least when I was there, is never been properly acknowledged.
Right.
He's just one of the best there was ever. And he had a unique style. He brought his own game to the formula. And that's something a lot of wrestlers need to understand. You got to create your own image, and you got to create your own persona. And Rob did that very, very well, very successfully. So we were glad we had him. And of course, probably no one on the card, Conrad, that participated on this card, did that card mean more than did to Tommy Dreamer. Because Dreamer was an, ECW guy, and he listened to Busted Open. He's on there several days a week with Dave LaGreca, Bubba, and all those dudes. And I'm a regular listener to their show, thanks to their app. And so they do a good job representing pro wrestling business. So Tommy, he loves every opportunity. He's an old school guy. Look at that one more hot tag. So I was that match interested me because I knew the both talents had something in their mind that they needed to prove. Did they really need to prove anything? Probably not.
Right.
But they both enjoyed their experience, and because of that, it made me happy. Talent they got booked, they had a good match, they got exposure, they got paid. They got paid.
Yes, sir. It's also announced that Brock is going to be moving exclusively to SmackDown, and there's also a lot going on with the Un-Americans. Here's a report from the Observer. The Un-Americans threatened to burn the flag. Ross and Lawler seemed like the only two in the building really taking that threat seriously. And they heard they were worried about security going out there for the angle. They first played Kane's music, but he never came out. Booker and Goldust went to make the save, but they were unsuccessful and got beaten down. Then Kane, looking different, made the save. Kane chokeslammed everyone, leading to him doing a Kane-a-Rooney. There was something I couldn't understand about the mood and seriousness when you go from saving the American flag in New York to doing a spin-a-Rooney. There was a definite conflict between McMahon and the Un-Americans regarding the angle at MSG. It wasn't as much as they didn't want to do the burning the flag angle, but they wanted proper security. Others took it as they were lucky to be put in a potential heat getting angle, and they're wary of getting too much heat, and that the heels should strive for the most heat possible and look at this as their big opportunity. Now, I just want to add context. This is about a year after 9/11. So any sort of talk of burning the American flag in New York City about a year after 9/11, I could see why they would be hesitant. But at the same time, I know that, well, this is sort of old school wrestling. Where did you land on that?
It was a wrong time. Timing was bad.
Yeah.
I can't justify doing it, no matter if it's part of the nomenclature of pro wrestling. I was doing commentary when Eddie Gilbert covered the big cowboy in Tulsa with a Russian flag. And that was absolutely off the hook. Crowd went crazy. They were angry. It was just like a hostile takeover. Mm-hmm. And how can you do that to the cowboy type thing? So I've experienced it kind of in that respect. But I just thought because it was New York, it was a year after 9/11, and that the wounds had not even come close to starting to heal. They still haven't.
Right.
I just thought it was bad timing. I wouldn't even considered it. It'd been that. No, we're not doing that. Next type thing.
kind of interesting to see what's going on here because it's clear we're trying to push SmackDown. We mentioned that Brock Lesnar is now signed exclusively to SmackDown. Well, The Undertaker is going to get moved to SmackDown too. As a reminder, Rock and Hogan are both out of here. So we're probably looking for a little star power here. In response, Raw no longer has a world championship because now, well, Brock Lesnar is exclusive for SmackDown. So Eric Bischoff just rehashes the old WCW big gold belt and simply just gives it to Triple H and calls him the new world heavyweight champion for Raw. That's always been weird for me, man. I'll never forget that scene.
Me too.
I just don't listen. I know that it's entertainment and I shouldn't care, but it just felt a little weird. We're just going to create a new title and give it to a guy. There's no tournament. How did that strike Jim Ross back then?
It was very untraditional.
Yeah.
Handing over a gift, the only time it might work is if you had a red hot heel that giving the championship to might increase their heat and their profile. But in general, it's not a good idea. Triple H should have gotten a ring, and it wasn't his call.
Right.
But to see him wrestle was always the bonus to me. And because at that point in time, he was really getting to be an amazing heel. You know, he'd followed Vince gave him the lead in, Vince gave him the hot tag, so to speak. And Triple H's association with Vince certainly didn't hurt Triple H's heel persona. But I would never have thought about it. I mean, if I was in a production meeting or a creative meeting, more specifically, I would have said, I'm passing on that idea. I don't like it. I just think it's too many negative thoughts it's going to conjure up. And you got families that are still looking for their loved ones. I mean, hell, they hadn't found everybody. So I just didn't think it made any sense, Conrad. I too much. That's like Kane doing the Kane or Rooney, my ass.
Yeah. Shouldn't happen.
Oh no. That's where sports entertainment and pro wrestling have a conflict sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You got this monster and you built him and he's over. He's a Hall of Fame guy, but now we're going to have him to start doing the Kane or Rooney. Hell, I did a spin a Rooney one time. It was hideous. It was. I was surprised my back didn't go out or something. So, but yeah, I thought the Kane thing was ill-placed, and to even consider the 9/11 connotations was not even a consideration for me. Would never have gone there.
Let's also talk about what's next for Billy and Chuck. They're going to have their commitment ceremony over on SmackDown. This was a really big deal. It got some mainstream coverage. It got everybody talking. How are they going to do this? What is the payoff going to be? And we know it winds up being one of the more memorable segments in SmackDown history and one of the most important things of Eric Bischoff's whole career. I thought Bischoff did a great job in the reveal that he was in fact the priest. Had to sit in the makeup chair forever and a day.
Yeah.
Here comes 3-minute warning. Rosie and Jamal are going to beat up Billy and Chuck, and even Stephanie gets hit with the Samoan drop. And I know that it's easy for folks to poke fun at that creative, but the reveal of Eric Bischoff, boy, that was really well done, was it not?
Absolutely. Yeah. Eric did a hell of a job on that casting, shall we, booking. Booking, casting, they're kind of synonymous. That's what it is, really. You're getting cast in a fictional role, and I thought that Eric did a phenomenal job in that role, and the makeup people did even better. I mean, God dang, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
That's right.
And so Eric pulled that off expertly, no doubt. And I enjoy his podcast on here on the network is really good. Eric keeps reinventing himself. He kind of reminds me of Chris Jericho. Talking about Jericho signing a new deal. He just keeps reinventing himself and making himself fit the landscape of broadcasting. So I'm a big fan of Eric's podcast, 83 Weeks. It doesn't bother me to call it 83 Weeks. They beat our ass. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I didn't like Oklahoma getting beat by Texas 49-0 either, but it happened. It happened. Boy, did JBL do a promo. They were in Oklahoma City on Monday night. I didn't know that. And I started getting all these tweets and things. Man, JBL's tearing you up tonight on TV. Well, I knew that they were not going to mention my name on television.
Right. Of course not.
That ain't going to happen. But the connotations on where it was directed to, and maybe in my pea brain, or maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that's not so. Well, you can guarantee that my name came up when they were talking about it because, well, this will piss JR off.
Oh yeah.
So, and it didn't. JVL delivered the goods, man. He did a hell of a job. He's a great promo guy. We sang his praises here on this show on many occasions, but we just have that. He has that Dick Murdoch like Texas allegiance, and sometimes it's hard to take because he can be very good at what he does, and he was very good in that promo. I thought it was good. How he's going to do with Baron Corbin, I don't know. I think Baron Corbin's missing a piece here or there, someplace. I'm not sure. But maybe the answer to that missing piece is JBL. We'll find out.
He delivered that promo wearing my pants. I don't know if you noticed that or not. All right, it's that time of year. The days are getting shorter and the air is getting a little crisper. I find myself craving some comforting home cooked meals, and Home Chef makes it easy with their oven ready options, and they've got hearty recipes that hit the spot without me stressing over what's for dinner. You see, Home Chef makes cooking simple. Fresh food delivered, easy recipes to follow, and meals that actually taste great. Home Chef is rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. Here's the thing, good old JR and I, we want it to taste good, but we want it to be easy, okay? So whatever kind of day it is, whether you're thinking classic recipes with fresh ingredients, maybe those 30-minute meals, oven-ready trays, or what about a quick microwave option? Home Chef has you covered, dude. There's even a dedicated family menu for hassle-free, delicious dinners, and it's not one size fits all. Home Chef has over 30 different meal options each and every week with different choices for different diets and different tastes. Did I mention it's more affordable too? You see, Home Chef customers save an average of $86 a month on their groceries. So not only does it taste better, but it's also cheaper. Sign me up. And on the nights when you just want something easy, can I recommend Home Chef's 5-ingredient meals? I think they're perfect. You're talking 5 fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, and bam, dinner's done. Right now, for a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off and free shipping for your first box, plus free dessert for life. Go right now to homechef.com/JR. That's homechef.com/JR for 50% off your first box and free dessert for life. That's homechef.com/JR. You must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. The most ill-fitting John Cena 2002 suit of all time. So let's talk about some more bad creative. They're focusing on some silly, maybe ratings focused segments, what they think will pop a rating.
Right.
They start to do something called HLA, which stands for Hot Lesbian Action. Now they're doing that because Raw is drawing its lowest ratings in over 4 years here in the fall of 2002. And that goes back to when there were 2 shows on Monday night. I understand that, desperate times call for desperate measures, but even back then I thought, I don't know if they should be doing this. Hot Lesbian Action. What do you think of that creative?
No, it'd been another one. It would have been another shortened creative meeting.
Yeah.
Here's what we want to do. My vote would have been no.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of, there's certain things in wrestling that creatively somebody can say, well, all's fair in love and war. All's fair in this. It's all just wrestling. Well, you still got to have some sort of integrity. You still got to have some sort of continuity, creative continuity. And if you don't, it's like saying, I often wondered this in response to your question. How does a mom and dad explain to a kid what the hell HLN is? And Daddy, what's a lesbian? Well, if I got an 8 or 10-year-old kid, I might not be ready to talk to them about the birds and the bees and lesbians.
Yes.
I'm not an anti-lesbian. Don't get me wrong. I think I've been a lesbian all my whole life. Because I do like women, but that's not a shocker. But it just didn't fit. We're trying so hard to emphasize the entertainment aspect of sports entertainment and de-emphasize the sports side of this whole equation. So I wasn't a big fan of it. This, like I said, I had high hopes in the show. I thought it was going to be really good. I was hoping so. I was ready for it. It just did not deliver for me for some of these reasons we're already talking about. Just some of them just aren't even good considerations. Don't go there.
Well, here's another piece of interesting creative. William Regal is put with the Un-Americans. This is from the Observer. Regarding the heat with the Un-Americans as a whole, it's a bunch of small things. Vince wanted Test, Christian, and Storm to all dress the same and have the same look like an 80s WWF tag team would have done. He also wanted them to work a more heelish style, meaning less big offensive moves, mainly punches and kicks and big bumps for the faces' comebacks. And the day after SummerSlam, when Vince was already in a bad mood over the situation with The Rock, he told Test and Christian that he wanted all three to start wearing similar tights and look the same. He told them since Lance can't grow his hair to look like theirs in just 1 week, they need to cut their hair like Lance. And as you can see, neither did it. There was also minor problems over the incident that night in MSG, where they wanted more security because of the flag burning angle. There's been more than one person in the office remarked that they are guys because of their gimmick who've been given a golden opportunity, and the idea that they didn't want to get too much heat is not a good sign.
No,
There's also an issue with some of the older agents, and if you understand their background and what wrestling was in their heelish days, you would not understand where they were coming from, or you would understand where they were coming from, and whether or not you'd agree or not, didn't exactly like the idea of Test getting the elective cosmetic surgery in the middle of a push program that caused him to miss a few weeks, and there are no plans to break them up, and they likely put Regal in the group to serve as the leader. So the Un-Americans, man, it seems like it's a decent piece of creative, but for whatever reason, we can't get everybody on the same page. Is that fair to say?
That's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. Everybody wasn't on board.
Yeah.
And Test, God bless his soul, thought he was a lot better than he was. He had unlimited potential based on his look. 6'5", 6'6", big blonde guy and pretty jacked up. But he wasn't totally committed, and he overstated his value, I think. So, but like I'm like some of those old school guys. They don't surprise you. You get this opportunity, man, roll with it, go for it. And so anyway, it's just, I was kind of disappointed in how that was presented, and it wasn't Lance Storm was up for anything, seemed to me like, but of course his hair wasn't involved. We ought to have our hair fixed. Goddamn, the men in wrestling today spend as much time in front of a mirror dealing with their hair and their watered down look and their 8,000 tattoos. You should be worried about that. Don't worry about your look is good, but you gotta, if you're going to go against Vince's mandate, and so what you're doing, you're pissing on his vision. That's how he saw it. So if you're going to piss on my vision, I'm going to piss on your career.
Wow.
And that was the end of Edge. Essentially, he might have got another cup of coffee here, there, and yon, Conrad, but bottom line was he shot himself in both feet when he did that. Elective surgery, my ass.
So where Raw is struggling a little bit, SmackDown starts to flourish. It's featured more wrestling and really good wrestling. And this is where we start to hear about what's known as the SmackDown Six: Edge, Mysterio, Benoit, Angle, Eddie, and Chavo. Of course, Paul Heyman is sort of leading the writing on that show.
Yeah.
But house show attendance is down to half of what it was before the brand split. Let me explain. In March of 2002, the average was 8,565 fans per show. Now it's down to 4,170 per show. I know you're handling payoffs for a lot of these guys. I'm sure this is on your radar.
Yeah.
Did you think that there's a magic bullet to fix this, or did you lean into wrestling's cyclical, we just got to ride it out?
Well, I believe the latter, pretty much, that it is cyclical. And if you're well structured and your company's strong, you ride it out until somebody gets hot, gets over. Getting over is really, really the name of the game. But I look, they loaded. WWE knew what they were doing with SmackDown in the sense that they bulked the brand up. They built that brand on Friday nights, and you got to believe that somewhere down the road you knew that something maybe was brewing big, like it has evolved to on Fox network television. Man, how do you not take care of that property? And they did, and I was excited about that. But they loaded that show up, and it was challenging for Lawler and I because we weren't getting all the top talent anymore on Raw. Raw wasn't the automatic go-to, and I don't think that did us any favors. I think both could have been built. Don't get me wrong, but to desecrate the roster of Raw was, I thought, unnecessary.
Let's do a quick rundown of some highlights from the Unforgiven pay-per-view in LA. You would see Triple H defeat Rob Van Dam to keep the world title. Trish would beat Molly Holly to win the women's championship. Rosie and Jamal would pick up a win over Billy and Chuck, with the stipulation that now Stephanie has to perform a little HLA. The quote-unquote ugly lesbian they brought out ended up being Rikishi, who took off his mask, beat up Bischoff, and gave him the stink face. So that's old school wrestling. Then we got Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker going to a double DQ in the main event for the title, and that, of course, sets up a Hell in a Cell for those two cats at No Mercy.
Yep.
And it's not a very memorable pay-per-view besides maybe the whole stink face to Bischoff piece of business. 300,000 buys here is what it does. And Randy Orton has moved over to Raw the night after Unforgiven. He's here as a baby face, but it seems like they're trying to shove him down the fans' throats on purpose. Maybe like they hope that the fans would turn on him. Orton gets injured pretty soon after with a shoulder injury, and it feels like his career maybe is getting derailed a little bit. Obviously, we've got big hopes for Randy Orton. We know now in hindsight it more than worked out. Yep. But was there a time here in 2002 where you thought, man, I hope he can pull the nose up here, but it does feel like he's got quite a string of bad luck?
Yeah, bad breaks. Yeah. You're right. But nobody ever lost confidence in Randy's ability to be a big star. He was still young, Conrad. Golly.
Yeah.
Or when we're talking about this time, he was still in his 20s.
Yeah, he was.
I'm guessing. So nobody ever lost faith in Randy Orton. It's just that, you get some guys get snake bit, and injuries are something they can't control. And so all we had to do was be patient with Randy Orton, because we knew that he was a Hall of Fame guy. At least I did. I thought he was, I had to save his ass when Vince found out he was dishonorably discharged from the Marines.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And Vince never served a minute at a time in the armed forces, but he was all, that was just his thing. One of his issues. So, but we thank God we didn't cut Randy short, and he's done pretty good with those guys since we signed him.
Yeah, I think so. I think it worked out. Hey, so talk to me a little bit about Pete Rose. You're going to dust him off, bring him back for the No Mercy TV commercial, sort of rekindling his feud with Kane. I really always enjoyed his little cameos here and there. I know you're an old school baseball guy. How was Pete?
Yeah. Great. He was fun to see. He genuinely had a good time. Pete was one of the boys.
Yeah.
Pete Rose deserved and belonged in a locker room. And the talents who grew up that were baseball fans, how do you not respect and idolize to some degree Pete Rose?
Right.
He should be in the Hall of Fame. And of course, it's the gambling thing, the holier than thou authorities that be in Major League Baseball, or someday when he goes in the Hall of Fame, which I still believe he will, when some of these old sticks in the mud move on. But everybody loved to see Pete. He was fun in catering, Conrad. He was fun backstage. He told great baseball stories. He just was, I remember him telling the story of going someplace in like a USO tour or something with Joe DiMaggio. They went into a more of a jungle-like area, and it was very secluded. And so they took showers in the jungle. It's some kind of makeshift thing you might see on an old Tarzan show where the water flew in. And Pete told a story about that Joe DiMaggio had the biggest penis he'd ever seen in his life.
Wow.
He said, and I've been in a lot of locker rooms. He said it was scary. And Pete, he sizzled it up a lot more, but it captivated the boys. You know, Peanuts humor is easy to translate.
It's over.
Yeah, yeah. So, but he was fun to be around, and I don't remember. He always did exactly what he was supposed to do, and you got a guy coming off the bench, no pun intended, and getting in the ring to do a tombstone power driver. It's not like saying we want you to do an arm drag.
Right.
Or I'm going to do a side headlock takeover on you. You're going to go. We're going to go the late innings. We're going to do a walk off, and that's what we did with Pete. He did a walk off every time he was on, and it was always fun. I'll never forget the Bill Buckner stuff he did.
Fantastic.
You know, yeah, and what great timing.
Yes.
What great comedic timing. And then he had the balls to say, "Yeah, I'll do the tombstone."
Yeah.
What is a tombstone? He didn't even know what a tombstone was, but he was a fun guy to be around, and you know, hey, he's doing a pretty good deal right now. He's making a living signing his name in Vegas.
A lot of money, by the way.
Yep.
He's still as over as ever, and of course, we were always thinking about him and Kane. And speaking of Kane, he and Hurricane win the tag titles from Lance Storm and Christian. And then there's a really hot SmackDown show on September 26th from San Diego. Couple of outstanding matches. We get Rey Mysterio beating Benoit and Angle in the main event of a triple threat. And Meltzer would even say that Vince was against putting Mysterio in the main event, but after he heard the hometown crowd reaction for Rey, he changed his mind. It does feel like Vince really had to come around and, for lack of a better word, be sold on the idea of doing this much with Rey Mysterio. No?
Yeah, I think so. Vince, the thing that we forget, and guys like you that wear multiple hats and run their own show can understand it probably better than most. Vince had so much on his plate. I mean, we go from the old worn out illustration of he signed off on all the T-shirt designs, something to that level. But he had a lot of projects like that on his plate. So he was extremely busy. And I think that in another place and time, he would have had a lot more awareness of what's on the TV. Like we've said here before, I don't remember him ever one time in the 26 years that I worked for him asking me, boy, that was a good WCW show this week, right? He ain't going to watch the other wrestling.
Right.
I don't think he watched WWE wrestling unless he was there producing it. So I think that hurt him a little bit, because for not to be aware that we have a Hispanic market in San Diego. Ray lives in San Diego. He's a folk hero down there to all races, all sizes. And it slipped by Vince. And things like that would not have slipped by Vince if he had less items on his plate to deal with. So I think that's kind of where that came from. But Rey Mysterio to give him a shine in San Diego was complete no-brainer.
Let's keep it moving here and talk about the other show stealing match here. It's Edge pinning Eddie Guerrero in a no DQ match. They're using a ladder a lot. It does feel as if SmackDown has the better show. Now there's no debate. Raw is still the A show, but it feels like SmackDown's got more wrestling and, well, Raw has more hot lesbian action.
Correct.
I know part of you really likes feeling like you're on the A team of Monday Night Raw here, but part of you probably has to think, damn, can I call some of those matches? Because that's a little more your speed, is it not?
It was a little bit unique casting. But Lawler and I were so established on Raw that we're part of the brand.
That's right.
For better or for worse. And I'm not trying to break my arm patting myself on the back, but we were a comfortable fit and have been for years and years through the glory years and the AEW, the Attitude Era. So, but it was hard when you're a wrestling guy like me. You want to call wrestling matches and not describe or narrate hot lesbian action. If hot lesbian action had gotten over, and maybe I'd have a different feel for it. But I just thought it was just pure and simple a waste of time.
Man, that's funny because I sure did think hot lesbian action was always over for you. Let's keep going. All right, this Saturday, it's another wild WWE Saturday Night's main event. Man, I love that. The nostalgia is just pulsing through my veins, and I get excited. And MyBookie has odds on every match. That makes it even more exciting. You want to get some action in on Cody Rhodes against Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship? MyBookie's got you covered. And maybe you could find out who's favored to win the now vacated World Heavyweight title. What are you thinking, CM Punk or Jey Uso? Maybe you just want to lay something down on Tiffany Stratton or Jade Cargill. It's all up for grabs right now at MyBookie. I love this, man. We got all the big title fights on a Saturday night, and MyBookie's going to turn the volume up for us. You see, at MyBookie, you're not just betting on winners, you're betting on everything: entrances, turns, shock wins, and you get paid when you read the story right. Sign up right now with the code JR50, and MyBookie will back your first deposit. $100 gets you $50 extra, and $200 gets you a Benjamin. What you do with it is up to you. Saturday night's main event is this weekend. Bet smart, cash in, only at MyBookie. It's determined that SmackDown needs its own tag team titles. In your opinion, does having two sets of tag titles, especially in this era, dilute the tag titles a little bit? I mean, I understand that we're trying to create separate brands, but it's not as if the WWF has ever really been a tag team territory.
No.
So there's not a ton of big tag teams. There's not a ton of great tag teams. Sometimes it feels like they're just sort of thrown together. And now we've got a Raw set and a SmackDown set. Was this too many titles for you?
Well, if the brands had been strictly kept separate, no. If the title was exclusive to SmackDown, then cool. But it seemed like we were wandering all over the place. This show up here on Raw, then this guy may show up on SmackDown and without explanation, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not a big proponent of too many titles. You know, we've talked about that here. I think we devalue them. The more there are, the less they mean. Might be the best way to put this whole thing. And I'm a big believer that you can have too many titles. So what do you focus on? You know, we added a title in AEW, the Atlantic Championship that
the All Atlantic, yeah.
All Atlantic, yeah. And I thought that Orange Cassidy and when was that match? Orange and Pac.
Last week.
Was that last week?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Well, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, I liked the I didn't like the our attempt at trying to be more entertainment than sports was not something I appealed to, and not just because it didn't fit my wheelhouse. But anyhow, it was what it was, and thank God it seemed as we were in it and out of it with a blink of an eye. At least some decision makers recognize some many events. Well, I wanted this to work, but it ain't going to. And it didn't.
So the Un-Americans faction is broken up. Meltzer would have this to say. On the Un-Americans political situation, Regal, who was added to the group to provide it with stability, is well liked by management. He took Triple H under his wing, so to speak, when they were a tag team in WCW many years ago. Not to mention, he's considered as having a great wrestling mind and a student of the business, and he will always be kept strong. Test, who was thought to be the guy with the most upside potential, and this was originally supposed to be his breakout role, is now in the doghouse.
Right.
Besides being asked to cut his hair, they also wanted him to lose the long leather pants for more traditional ring attire, and when he didn't, they figured he wasn't worth investing in because he wasn't dedicated enough. There's a lot of people down on him because he believes his future is in acting. Christian has a little heat, but not like Test, and he'll probably end up where he was before the Un-Americans, which is nowhere. Storm had no heat, but right now has no role. At least as of this week, the plan was to drop the Un-Americans' name and gimmick. Who was down on them first, the agents or Vince?
Well, the agents tried to tell Vince that the kid didn't want to cut his hair or change his pants.
Yeah.
And then Vince got that information, and I'm sure that he had a sit down with Test. Again, Test believed in his own hype too much. He did have a great look, main event look, and all those things, but he wasn't a made man yet. He thought he was. unfortunately. And I liked Andrew. I remember the last time I talked to Andrew before they found him dead. We always had good conversations. We would kid each other about, he played football in high school in Canada. And so he would talk about sing the praises of Canadian American football. And I would laugh at his face almost, unfortunately. And, but it was friendly
Sure.
friendly conversation. But it's just too bad. He sunk his own ship. He imploded at sea, and he never was able to rebound.
Another change in championships on Raw is Kane defeating Jericho to win the IC title. Kane's now a double champion, and he's going to face Triple H at No Mercy. Of course, he's a tag champ too with Hurricane. But the IC title is going to be unified with the world title that night, and this retires the Intercontinental Championship after 23 years. So let's keep this in mind now. We just unified the Hardcore title and the IC title when Tommy Dreamer lost the Hardcore title to Rob Van Dam, and eventually Jericho has that Intercontinental title. Kane beats him for it. No more Intercontinental title. Now it's going to come back a year later.
Yeah.
But still, I can almost buy into the Hardcore title was a fun idea for the time and place. The European title, well, sure, we didn't really do much with that. I could see that going away. But the Intercontinental title, man, this has decades of history here. This was clearly a mistake. We corrected a year later, but why are we, on the one hand, creating a new set of tag champs, but we're getting rid of the IC title? That's the one with all the history and lineage. I didn't get that.
I didn't either. I was totally shocked when I heard that we were going to, retire the championship. Didn't know why. It's not like it hadn't been around a while and established. A great name identity. Some of the greatest stars in pro wrestling history have been Intercontinental champions at one point in time. So it's a big surprise. Hey, by the way, we've passed over Regal here. You mentioned him. I didn't. He did a hell of a job. He and MJF's promo,
fantastic,
was as good as I've heard in years.
Yes, I agree.
In years. And that's going through the Attitude Era and the whole 9 yards. I was really, really proud of both guys. Regal's facial expressions are priceless. Sometimes he doesn't have to say one single word. You know exactly what he's thinking.
Yes.
And the lay of this land. But he's been a valuable asset, an addition to the AEW team. And I thought he helped make MJF, which is the goal. I mean, MJF has got the rocket ship tied to him, and one would think it'll just be a matter of time till he's the kingpin. But that's another story for another day. The match is booked now with Moxley and MJF, and I'm kind of glad that they did it this way, because we now have a main event for the next pay-per-view, and if I'm not mistaken, and the right guys in the being chauffeured to the top, and which is good. You got to do that. Mm-hmm. So I thought that promo was absolute money, especially when you consider, as your fans are here listening today, they did it without a writer.
Yeah.
They didn't have a script. They didn't memorize their lines. You say this, you pause, I'll say that, then I'll pause, then we'll look at each other, then you blink, then I'll blink. Fuck. Is that it? Really? That's your instincts. So I just thought those guys did as good an in-ring promo as I can remember hearing. I'm sure I've heard others that impacted me as much, to some degree anyway. But God dang, Conrad, that was a piece of art. That was a historic promo that we'll look back on someday and say this was the launching pad that really got. Because I don't know if MJF's a babyface or a heel right now. Do you?
The fans were going nuts for him, man. They absolutely loved him, and it felt real. And those are always the promos that resonate with us, where they sort of blur the lines of reality, and we start to think, okay, well, now that's part of the show, and well, he's just kidding around. Oh, but this was real. And I felt that way during the MJF promo. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, me too. They could have done any better.
Yeah. And
again, I'm proud of both those guys. They both are students of the game, and Regal lending his experience and his instincts to it's not just MJF that Regal has helped. He helps a lot of guys. He's there early on TV day. He has workouts every time. He spends a lot of time with the talent, going over psychology and things of that nature. So William Regal is a valuable asset, in my opinion, to AEW, and helps us a lot. And, you know, being the point guy in one of the top factions, and a faction that really hasn't had a big push.
Yeah.
To one of your rumor and innuendo terms, big push. They don't seem like they've got a big push, but they're all over. And then they've gotten this Wheeler Yuta kid over. And then, of course, you got, you know, flawless Daniel Bryan, who's simply as good as I've seen, maybe ever. So it's interesting lineup. But that promo was a big deal, and those guys should be applauded for it.
This message is sponsored by Raycon. Raycon's everyday earbuds have become a go-to gift for the holidays. They sound great. They last all day and then some, with 32 hours of battery life, and they actually stay comfortable no matter how long you wear them. Over 4 million people already have a pair, so if you've been curious, now's the time to try them out for Black Friday and even Cyber Monday. And you can even get up to 30% off all the Raycon products, perfect for gifting or keeping to yourself. The Everyday Earbuds Classics are loaded with upgrades too. Active noise cancellation, multi-point connectivity. So check this out. You can pair with 2 devices at once, and an ergonomic design that actually fits and stays put no matter what you're doing. And you got to check out these new colors, man. I think they're just a vibe. My wife likes the blush violet. I actually kind of dig the cool mint. It feels less like quote unquote just earbuds and more like an accessory that sort of matches me and my personality. How about the everyday features that live up to the name? What about the quick charge? In just 10 minutes, you can get 90 minutes of playtime, and they've got 32 hours of battery life when you use the case. What about awareness mode? It's perfect when you're walking the dog, or you're out around town running errands. You can still stay tuned in to know what's happening around you without missing a beat. Over 3 million customers already love their Raycons, and they come with a 30-day happiness guarantee. So if you don't love them, returns are easy, and you have nothing to lose, but you're going to love them. My wife loves hers. I've loved mine. We're Raycon people from way back, and you will be too. And Raycon's going big for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Check this out. Everything's up to 30% off. Just click the link in the description or go right now to buyraycon.com/JR to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. That's BUYRAYCON.com/JR. Buyraycon.com/JR. Hey, did you know you can own for less than your current rent? We can help at SaveWithConrad.com. Stop throwing your money away on rent. You don't know any wealthy renters. Start building wealth for your family with my family at SaveWithConrad.com. Let's talk about the first Raw Roulette show here. October 7th from Vegas. There's some interesting matches here. Triple H is going to hook it up with D'Lo Brown in a blindfold match. William Regal is going to wrestle Goldust in a Las Vegas Showgirl match. Those guys were up for anything. And Jerry Lawler defeats Steven Richards in a quote unquote, it's legal in Nevada match. And Lawler then leaves with the Godfather's Ho Train. So you call the last match by yourself, which is a TLC match. And Meltzer would say it went 25 minutes and Kane won it alone, defeating Bubba Ray and Spike Dudley, Christian and Jericho, and RVD and Jeff Hardy to retain the tag titles for himself and Hurricane, who was beat up before the match by Triple H and Flair. And at the end of the Raw Roulette show, Triple H accuses Kane of murdering his girlfriend 10 years ago. There's been a lot said about this story. Of course, we're going to talk about the silliness to come, but let's first talk about the Raw Roulette show. This feels a little bit like the old spin the wheel, make the deal from WCW.
It was
a blindfold match, a showgirl match, the it's legal in Nevada match. I know that sometimes it feels like WWE is a little desperate here, but that was some good creative stuff, man. I really dug this.
We were in a production meeting at 120 Hamilton, and to talk about that event, and we needed an attraction match. You know, that's what we're going to build this thing around. And Vince said, we need a name for this match. And it just popped in my head immediately. Raw Roulette.
Yes.
It brought everything together.
Yeah, it does.
Raw, roulette, Vegas theme, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was we got that meeting was over quick because we found the name, and then it was up to creative to come up with the right stipulations. Pardon me, and they did, and there some were corny, some were outlandish, some were unbelievable, and some were good. But Raw Roulette had the magic to it, and I got lucky on that one. Just as far as giving us something to name that just popped in my head, and Vince liked it right away, and so that portion of the creative discussion was over. The name had been established, and he liked it, which made me feel good. Give me a little reprieve that day. So, but it was good. I always like working in Vegas. You know, you and I've had a lot of fun in Vegas together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. More to come, I'm sure, if I had to bet.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's talk about Katie Vick.
Do we have to?
Unfortunately, we're not going to talk about the segment just yet, but I'm curious when the idea is first pitched. So just to remind everybody, the way Kane was introduced is Paul Bearer would go on TV and yell at the Undertaker, "I know what you did. I know about your secret. I know you've got a brother." And so there's this secret that's out there. This feels like Turnabout's fair play. Now someone has a secret about Kane. We know what the silliness is going to be, but was that always the plan, or was there ever a decent idea that somehow we just lost our way?
I don't know. I don't recall any more decent ideas. Quite frankly, there may have been something that somebody said, well, that's not outlandish enough. That's not sensationalistic enough. But it was an attempt to become more entertainment. The entertainment side, for Raw anyway, the entertainment side of that show became the TLC, not the TLC, so the HLAs and all that shit. And it was just hard to, Lawler and I did our best to make some sense out of it, or narrate it, or lay out. I found us laying out more than anything. Because sometimes when you're not sure what to say, or an angle is just being introduced and you don't know how the audience is going to take it, yay or nay, you lay out. And a lot of announcers believe it's like a talent not getting their shit in. It's not about you, Mr. Announcer. It's not about you, JR. It's about the match. And can you narrate or lay out at the appropriate time to embellish what we're seeing? And some of that content was hard to lay out to establish what do you say sometimes?
Right.
The only thing that I will say about that stuff, it was different. It was unique. It was new. But none of those things were good. It wasn't good new, nothing. So this show is a great example of us getting way out of our lane, in my opinion.
Well, we try some other soap opera stuff on SmackDown. It's not just limited to Raw. And we're unbelievably going to pump it into the Brock Lesnar Undertaker feud. Lesnar and Heyman come out with a woman named Tracy, who claims that she had been having an affair with quote unquote Mark. Of course, that's the real life name of the Undertaker. And she apologizes to Sarah, the Undertaker's wife, because she didn't know he was married or a wrestler. Undertaker called his wife Sarah and told her he'd never even seen that woman before. And the Observer has this to say. Apparently the latest new direction of the company, based around a women's soap opera, was something Kevin Dunn sold Vince McMahon on, and Vince believes it can turn the company around. The belief was the Kane as a murderer angle will be a big hit. But now we're following it up with the Undertaker cheated on his pregnant wife, and it's kind of like overbooking angles, so that even if one were to get over, by doing so many, you're almost guaranteeing diluting them. Since they only know one way to go, Kane is a murderer went to Kane isn't a murderer, but is either a rapist or committed necrophilia because his semen was found in Katie Vick, the imaginary dead girl. This soap opera stuff, man. The Undertaker having to fend off infidelity charges on SmackDown. This is just, what are we doing?
You're saying that Mark Calloway is a total team player and will do whatever he is outlined. He'll run the plays that are called.
Yes.
So I admire Mark for that, because that was completely off the radar Undertaker feel. I didn't like it. I don't think he liked it, but everybody was trying to do their job. What are you smiling about?
I'm just smiling about how silly this is, that on this pay-per-view, we decide to try to clean up that messy SmackDown storyline. Stephanie's going to bring Tracy into her office, and they're going to talk about how she's now banned for life. And Stephanie's going to ask her woman to woman, of course, there's 250,000 people watching, what's really the story? And then she admits she hasn't been with Mark in 7 years, and that Paul Heyman called her to make up the story, but she wanted Mark back and would do anything to get him back. And Meltzer would say the acting was so bad you couldn't stop laughing. The Undertaker shows up. He was hiding while all of this was going on. He says she's a lying bitch, and Stephanie boots her out. Everything about this is just laugh out loud bad.
Yeah.
Boy, we're trying some soap opera, but not one of them is hitting so far.
No, we're over life.
Yes.
Or O forever on this entertainment portions of our proceedings. It was just, it's hard to get away from it. I told you this, we've talked about this, we laughed about it. This is going to be an interesting show to do because the show was the shits.
Yeah.
It had some moments, but not enough to save it.
All right, guys, let's be serious here for a minute. Life happens fast. You know, 1 minute you're driving home after work and the next you see flashing lights in your rearview mirror. Your heart skips, your hands tighten on the wheel, and you start asking yourself, what do I do now? That's when you need someone on your side. And with the Legal Buddy app, you can connect with a local attorney in seconds, not hours, not days, but right when you need the help. Whether it's a DWI, a car accident, a criminal charge, or even just a traffic ticket, the Legal Buddy app puts real legal support right in your pocket. Imagine having an attorney on call, ready to help guide you through some of life's most stressful moments. And hey, by the way, this isn't a call center. This isn't a waiting game. It's direct access to a lawyer who understands your situation and your community, one who can step in right away. Think about it. When trouble knocks, do you want to face it alone? Or would you rather have the confidence of knowing a professional is already on your side? That's the peace of mind that Legal Buddy gives you. And here's how easy it is. Just go download the Legal Buddy app at legalbuddyapp.com. Register today and be sure to use the referral code LEGAL for your chance to win a $250 Amazon gift card. Life is predictable. Accidents happen. Tickets happen. Mistakes happen. But when they do, you don't have to go through it alone. The Legal Buddy app, always on your side. Download the app today and enter the referral code LEGAL. Next up, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit become the first SmackDown Tag Team Champions, beating Rey Mysterio and Edge in 22 minutes and 3 seconds. And folks, if you're going to watch one thing on this show, this is it. It's a 4 3/4 star match. Meltzer even calls it a match of the year candidate. I don't want to spoil it. We know what the finish is going to be, but seriously, if you've got 22 minutes to watch one great wrestling match today, make it this one. It's Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit over Rey Mysterio and Edge. 4 of the best wrestlers in the world in 02 or anytime. And it's crazy to think all these years later, 20 years later, Mysterio and Edge still doing their thing. 4 3/4 of a star. I'm sure it would have been a fun match to call, but again, it's a SmackDown match, so you're not calling it. But these guys are just magic together, are they not?
Yeah. And I even though I would love to have called it, obviously, I love sitting where I was sitting and watching it.
Yeah.
Because it was just, for a fan, art. It was art. And some great visionary hired all those guys.
No doubt. No doubt.
I'm so proud of those. Steve said, JR, what's your legacy going to be? I said, hell, I don't know. We'll see how everything ends at the end of the day. Hopefully it'll be a nice exit for JR when it's all time. But golly, man, those guys are just phenomenal. And that match, they clicked. It clicked. There was a Canadian element to it. There was a awareness, cooperation. They're all challenged each other to be at their very best in this match, and they were. So I'm with you, Conrad. If you're going to watch one off this show, and this is a good one to invest 22 minutes in.
Oh, for sure.
So check it out and enjoy it. For those of you, and many of you didn't see it, you'll say, man, that match will stand up under any scrutiny. in any day or time.
Next up, another interesting match before our main event is Trish Stratus pinning Victoria to retain the women's championship in 5.5 minutes. Meltzer would say, the only thing I remember about this match was Lawler asking about the vague backstory of how Stratus kept Victoria out of WWE. And when Ross didn't know, Lawler said, you know everyone's shoe size, hat size, and what college they went to, but you don't know this. So fun little moment with Jerry busting his pal's balls.
Yep.
And then it's time for the main event. And this is sort of the forgotten Hell in a Cell. It's The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar in 02 in Hell in a Cell. They go 27 minutes and 18 seconds. There's blood early. There's chair shots. If we didn't have that fantastic Edge and Mysterio and Angle match, I would recommend this one. A fantastic match. Meltzer loved it, gave it 4 stars. Lesnar goes for the last ride. Undertaker blocks it, turns it into a DDT. Finally, The Undertaker goes for a tombstone. Lesnar reverses it and powers Undertaker to his shoulders and hits the F5 for the clean win in the middle. Brock Lesnar is going to retain his title here. This is a hell of a match, and I know that these guys have so much future with them. I mean, all the way to ending the streak and even beyond.
Right.
What a career, what a pairing these guys have had together. But to think about them doing it 20 years ago, when maybe maybe Undertaker's at his peak here, maybe Brock is still a little green, but they pulled together a 4-star performance in a Hell in a Cell, and it's almost maybe the best forgotten Hell in a Cell of all time. What say you?
Probably in that conversation, without a doubt, because when you think Hell in a Cell, you obviously go straight to Foley and Undertaker in Pittsburgh in '98. And there were other great Hell in a Cell matches. Undertaker and Shawn had a great Hell in a Cell, in my opinion. But it was those guys overexceeded. I think Undertaker's leadership and his guidance in that match helped Brock along, because all you had to do with Brock was kind of give him the tight wrist grip, like, okay, here we're going to do this or whatever. I just thought it was a great presentation, and it was great for Brock to get. That was a signature win. The only thing I didn't like about it was all we're going to be on SmackDown. I got no part of that deal, so I missed out on that, to be honest with you.
I want to mention the 4 minutes into the match, we've got some blood out of the forehead of Brock Lesnar, but eventually, Meltzer would say, Undertaker did a juice job, the likes of which you rarely see. Blood was flowing from his head like a faucet, almost small puddles. This is one of the bloodiest Undertaker matches of all time. Obviously, it adds a lot of drama to any match. But
yep.
Where are you at on blood and matches in 02? What I know that, society changes and all that jazz. Yep. Was there too much here?
Well, you mean too much as too many blood incidents, or just too much blood in this match?
Too much blood in this match. Like, go ahead.
Well, considering the two bulls that were in there and their physical dimensions and mindset, it might have been too much, but it didn't bother me. For get a lot of blood just as a shortcut because you don't know what else to do, I probably would not have bought into it as much. But that's not Brock or Taker. They had plenty to do. They just wanted to add more drama to it and heighten the feelings for the victory for Brock Lesnar over, greatest legacy type guy in the history of WWE, even above Andre. So Taker's tenure and his length there was just sensational. So, yeah, I thought that the match was bloody, but maybe close to too much, but it didn't offend me.
Well, it was a really good show, and I know that maybe the silliness of the Undertaker cheating and the silliness of the Katie Vick thing, maybe that takes away from it. But when it comes down to it, that tag match and this main event, there's something else, man. To the point where even the readers of the Wrestling Observer gave it a 79.9% thumbs up.
Yeah, it surprised me.
Some of the stuff is just sort of there, but man, those two matches, I feel like just saved the whole freaking show.
You're right.
Francis on Twitter wants to know, do you think the Undertaker made Brock into a top star with this match?
It sure as hell didn't hurt.
Yeah.
So did it complete the deal? Probably not. The process was not totally completed, but as far as moving Brock, continuing up the ladder with the credibility and the Lesnar legacy, it paid off. It paid off big time. So good question, and the answer is yes.
Adam wants to know, it's been long rumored that the power bomb from Bubba to Triple H, where Tripp's head hit the corner of the table on a Raw in September of 2002, killed what could have been a lengthy singles program between these two. Do you have any knowledge of this? And do you know if there was ever a plan for Bubba and Triple H at No Mercy? Or was the Kane and Katie Vick angle always the plan? Great question.
I think the latter. Yeah, it's a good question. I think the latter is your answer. It was always the plan. I mean, Bubba and Triple H would have had great matches. Yes. They could have had a great program. Bubba's a great in-ring talent. And he's found himself again. Seems like he's getting a lot of work. He's doing some work. What is he with Impact?
Yep.
Some Impact stuff.
Yep.
On my own network, Access TV. But they would have had a good deal. I never heard any blow up or any, well, I'm not going to work with him because he hurt me type thing. Triple H is a tough guy. I don't know if he ever complained about. Now maybe the talent's going to see this show or to listen to the show and say, "Oh, JR, come on, you know better than that." No, he never complained to me, so that's all I got to go by. I can't go by what he said to the Brooklyn Brawler in catering. I don't know. So yeah, I would have liked that program, but it just never obviously got off the ground, and I don't really think it had anything to do with Triple H hitting his head.
Let's talk a little bit about Pastor Tim's question. He says, the Katie Vick angle, despite it being despised, is just one example of the bad taste moments in wrestling history. This particular event seems to be the nail in the coffin of the Attitude Era. Would you agree with that? And how soon after the angle aired did WWE recognize they'd gone too far from a public appetite and perspective?
I don't think it took too long.
Yeah.
I mean, the feedback in the next 24, 48 hours after that stuff aired was pretty telling. To be honest with you, I don't know if it ended the Attitude Era. What ended the Attitude Era was less Austin and more somebody else. Rock was gone. Austin was hurt. But I don't think it ended the Attitude Era. And it's arguable, Pastor. You may have something. You may be onto something. But I think that. But I don't see that ending the Attitude Era. Again, Austin, McMahon, all those cats, Rock, not being available or not being there. That's really what helped contribute to the end of the Attitude Era, in my view.
Next week here on Grilling JR, we're going to be talking about Halloween Havoc 1992. Spin the wheel, make the deal. Jake the Snake Roberts and Sting are going to headline the show from the Philadelphia Civic Center. We've also got Ron Simmons defending his championship against the Barbarian. Rick Rude's in there with Masahiro Chono for the NWA title. How about Steve Williams and Steve Austin, two totally different people with the exact same name, are going to take on Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes for the tag titles. Nikita Koloff is going to challenge Vader for the U.S. title. It's an interesting time in WCW in 1992. We'll talk about that next week. I find it fun that we just talked about Raw Roulette, and next week it's Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal.
Yeah.
Speaking of spinning the wheel, making the deal, Jake Roberts himself is going to be on ad-free shows taking your questions this week if you're a top guy, talking about this particular show, Halloween Havoc 92 on the 30th anniversary. You can also check out my recent conversation with Bill Apter on the Insider series. He told some stories that he's never told before, that I'd never heard before, about Hulk Hogan, about Howard Finkel, about Vince McMahon. We also have a deep dive on the world title that Ron Simmons made famous over in WCW on the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Reggie Parks with his protege, if you will, belt maker Dave Milliken. Eric Bischoff sits down to chop it up with Raven and talk about their heat from the WCW days from the very first time. We also had to sit down with Jeff and Karen Jarrett talking about their experiences in AAA just in time for Triple Mania. And of course, you get all of our shows here early and ad-free for just $9. So go check it out, adfreeshows.com. And what goes better with old school wrestling? A little down home barbecue, the all-purpose seasoning, still a favorite. Baby. Last night, Jim, my wife made some delicious pork chops, And it's kind of weird because I've always been a thick daddy pork chop guy. She goes thin to win. So she'll make a stack of these little thin pork chops.
That's it.
Nothing sets them off better than your all-purpose seasoning. She doesn't opt for the barbecue sauce, but she never, ever misses the all-purpose seasoning. So if my wife is out there playing on the Rec Tech, I know one thing's for sure. It's going to taste good, and it's going to have your seasoning on it, dude.
Yeah, and we're doing our very best to keep up with all the orders. So we thank everybody for your support. jrsbbq.com. The store never closes, costs nothing to look. And we're just grateful for all the business and the gratitude is prominent. And we appreciate you guys supporting our brand. And I know it made little Jan happy because that was her project. And I'm just trying to keep it alive while I'm still alive.
Well, let me tell you, so you guys are doing specials all the time. Just in time for AEW this week, you did 25% off your sauces. You also said if you spent more than $25, you get a Topps trading card signed by JR. Folks, I want you to understand, if you go look at that on eBay, that costs way more than the sauce does. I don't think Jim and his folks have figured this out. They're giving away too much value here. It is a signed trading card from JR. If you send that off and you get it slabbed, that thing's going to be worth well over $100, maybe hundreds of bucks. Go take a look right now. It's jrsbbq.com. He's got specials all the time. And there's rumor and innuendo that if you're a hot sauce fan, you might have a little trick or treat coming your way at the end of the month. How about that?
I swear to the good Lord, it's imminent. And I'm so ready. It's just hard. You know, I learned so much in this business about it takes time to develop products, especially when you're developing a food product, Conrad. It's just hard to all the hoops you got to jump through and all the legal steps that's got to be taken, which I understand and I agree with. You want to feed anybody a bad product, we're not going to do that. So the hot sauce is. I'd like to hope that by next week we'll have definitive information on the whole rollout of that stuff. So it's going to be, if you want hot, baby, Red Ass JR's bringing you something now. So let's see what we think about it. I'm excited. I hope you guys will try it.
Folks, really, check this out. I just looked this up, Jim. I'm on eBay. Your signed trading cards from Topps. I'm looking at one right now for $100. I'm looking at another for $75. I'm looking at another for $113, one for $112, one for $199. Jim's just giving this shit away, y'all. What is he doing? Go to jrsbbq.com right now. Get yourself a great deal. Try the sauce. And let me give you a little pro tip. I understand you're a wrestling fan. Look behind me. I'm a collector. I get it. But don't just buy one bottle for the shelf. Buy two bottles, one to try, one to display. And here's a spoiler. You're going to go back to your shelf and eat it and reorder. We're in a reorder situation. It's great stuff. It's can't miss. And that all-purpose seasoning, don't sleep on it. I hammer it here every week because I believe in it. I'm a regular user of the product. You're going to love it. jrsbbq.com is where you can pick it up. And next week, man, Halloween Havoc 92. It's a coal miner's glove on a pole. The pole is about 300 yards in the air. No one thought about this at all. I don't know how we decided a coal miner's glove. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly of WCW, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, that was my last year in WCW, 92.
Yeah.
Because soon thereafter, I came to WWE at WrestleMania 9 in 1993. So that was my last foray and one of my last pay-per-views that I got a chance to participate in there at that point in time. So it's a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, as you like to say.
I know we don't normally talk about current stuff all that much, Jim, but before we get out of here, I want to ask, the news has broken through Dave Meltzer. I think we're still waiting on some other confirmations, but Meltzer has confirmed maybe the first piece from the controversy that happened in AEW in September. Ace Steel no longer with the company. I know you're not a part of the office. I know you can't comment on that because you weren't involved in that, but I am curious. Did you ever spend any time with Ace Steel?
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He did, he has a lot of product knowledge, solid hand. And I thought he did a nice job. I didn't work with him directly a lot. I'd see him at TV and he was always, friendly and approachable. But maybe, I don't know. I'm sorry to hear that because I thought he was a good hand and did a nice job there. But you know, things have a way of working out. You never say never, but I always thought he did a nice job for us. I know he was very loyal to CM Punk. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
They're buddies, and I'm assuming that CM Punk's the guy that got Ace Steel his job. That would be my guess, wouldn't you? I mean, it seems logical. So anyhow, I don't know where all that's going. I hate to see anybody lose a job,
yes,
and
always
lose a paycheck. That's
yes.
the deal. So, but he was while he was there, he seemed to be a viable asset. But again, I didn't work with him directly. I didn't have any issues, pro or con, with him. But it's the bottom line is another guy lost a job, and that's what's regrettable.
I'm curious to see what's next for Mr. Steele, because I do feel like, and I want to fully disclose, I'm a Ring of Honor fan from way back, so I'm very familiar with Ace Steel and his history in the wrestling business and helping guys like Colt Cabana and CM Punk get their start with his school and whatnot. But I think because of all the controversy, boy, he's probably got more name recognition amongst wrestling fans than ever before. So I'm curious to see what's next for him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. He's got skills. He's got skills, Conrad. And I would think that if he's given a fair shake within the landscape of wrestling in general, he'll find some work. Smart guy. We'll see how it works out for him. Hope it works out well. And I regret that anybody anywhere in wrestling loses a job.
Well, we hope we still have one next week right here. We'll see you as we're talking Halloween Havoc 1992 on Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
Thanks, Conrad. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Had fun doing this wacky-ass show that's got 2 matches on it you need to watch if you can. But next week will be a lot of fun, a lot of nostalgia next week in the 1992 version of Halloween Havoc. And we hope that you'll tune in and join us for our show. We appreciate you guys very much. And we're kicking ass in the numbers. Show's doing great thanks to you guys. So I'm grateful. I'm appreciative. And I'll see you next week.
Hey, just in time for the holidays, what if you didn't have to worry about any of that credit card debt? If you're feeling stuck making the minimum payments and you don't want to have to put Christmas on a credit card, we can help at SaveWithConrad.com. We routinely help our listeners save hundreds of dollars a month. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.